He walked into our beach house with her, laughing, holding hands, and froze when he saw me and her husband sitting at the table. I didn't plan it. Not at first. I wasn't the kind of woman who plotted revenge. I was the kind who forgave too fast, blamed herself, stayed quiet to keep the peace. But that changed the day I found the messages, hidden under a fake contact name, M, hundreds of them, photos, reservations, plans. He said he had a conference, that he'd be gone for 3 days. He kissed my forehead, told me to rest. Meanwhile, he was packing for a romantic escape to the same house we bought together last year, our future family retreat, as he used to call it. Our home away from home, but he wasn't counting on one thing. Her husband had seen the E. Same messages too. It started with a DM, a stranger, polite, direct. I think my wife is sleeping with your husband. Can we talk? My stomach dropped. I called him crazy, blocked him. Then I checked my husband's email, and everything unraveled. He wasn't crazy. He was me, a mirror. We met for coffee. We shared screenshots, lined up timelines, compared receipts. Our hands shook, our voices cracked. And then, without speaking it out loud, we decided something. We wouldn't tell them we knew. Not yet. Instead, we waited. He said they were going to Montauk. I knew what that meant. Our house. So I packed a small bag, met her husband, at the driveway, and we let ourselves in. We cooked. We opened wine. We sat at the dining table like hosts, calm, composed, ready. They arrived at 6:42 p.m. I'll never forget the sound of the door opening, the laughter, the suitcase wheels rolling against the wood floor. And then, silence. He walked in first, saw us, dropped his keys. She followed behind him, still smiling, until she saw me. No one spoke. Not at first. The silence was a scream, and I sat there drinking the same red wine he once said, tastes like summer, and said, dinner's ready. We thought we'd wait until you arrived to begin. We bought that beach house the year we celebrated our 7th anniversary. He said it was a reward for surviving the hard years. I laughed when he said that, but deep down, I believed him. We had struggled. Fertility treatments, career, changes, his mother's illness. But we came through it, or so I thought. It was a white shingled cottage with pale blue shutters and a wraparound porch that creaked in the best way. We painted the walls together, picked furniture slowly. I hand-picked every lamp, every throw pillow. We even named the guest rooms after our future kids. He told me, one day, this'll be their childhood memory. I remember standing barefoot in that kitchen, cooking while he read on the couch, thinking, this is it. This is what safety feels like. I built my whole life around that feeling. We met when I was 25. He was 30, already successful, already charming in that quiet, dangerous way. He wasn't loud, but he pulled people in. He pulled me in. Our relationship moved fast. Dinners, keys, a proposal within a year. Everyone said, he's a catch. I thought I was lucky. At first, he was all in, supportive, attentive. He'd bring me lunch at work, text me just to say, thinking about you. He remembered things. The date I quit my toxic job, the brand of tea my mother used to drink. I told my friends, he sees me. That was the hook, feeling seen. But slowly, things shifted. He started traveling more, networking, client retreats. The trips got longer, the explanations thinner. I asked once if he could take me along. He said it would complicate things, that it was work, not leisure. I let it go, trusted him, trusted that ring on my finger and the keys we both carried. We stopped having deep conversations. Our talks became about errands, logistics, plans. The love was still there, I thought, just quieter. I blamed life, stress, time, everything but the truth. He had already started detaching from me and attaching to someone else. I met her once, months ago, a casual dinner. She was stunning in that effortless way. She laughed at his jokes too, quickly. I remember feeling something twist in my gut that night. But I told myself I was being insecure. Her husband was quiet at that dinner, observant. I remember thinking, he watches her like I used to watch him. Now I know. He saw it too. He just wasn't ready to name it yet. I had no idea back then that the person I shared vows with was turning our beach house, our sacred space, into a hideaway for infidelity. But I know now. It began with changes so subtle I could have sworn they were in my head. He started locking his phone, not just with a code, but with a fingerprint. And when I asked why, he laughed and said, "You know how easy it is to get hacked?" I nodded, tried not to let it sting, but it did. He became obsessed with the gym again. New clothes, new watch, suddenly interested in grooming products he used to roll his eyes at. I told myself he's taking care of himself, but there was something performative in it, like he was preparing for something, or someone. He started getting distant during dinner, zoned out, checking his phone under the table. When I'd ask him about his day, his answers got shorter, generic, always ending with, "It was fine." Then came the work trips, monthly, then twice a month, then weekly, always the same vague tone. It's important. I'm this close to closing a deal. He didn't notice that I stopped asking questions, that I just smiled and said good luck while dying inside. The intimacy changed too. At first I thought it was stress, but soon the excuses started stacking. I'm tired. Let's just cuddle. Can we rain check? Until one day there was nothing left to cancel, just silence between bodies. I stopped recognizing the man I married, and worse, I stopped recognizing myself. I was shrinking, walking on eggshells, blaming myself for a distance he created. I thought if I just did more, cooked better meals, wore new lingerie, asked fewer questions, maybe he'd come back. But he wasn't gone. He was elsewhere. The moment I truly knew was the day I found the perfume. Not mine. Not even close. Too floral. Too sweet. It clung to the passenger seat of his car like a signature. When I asked, he said, "Oh, I gave a colleague a ride. Must have been hers." Then laughed like it was nothing, like I was dramatic. That night, I cried in the shower. Not because of what I knew, but because of what he made me doubt in myself. Days later, her husband messaged me, polite, heartbreaking, said he found receipts, messages, a second phone hidden in a drawer, and then he said, the words I hadn't been brave enough to think, "I believe your husband is sleeping with my wife." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I wrote back, "Let's meet." We didn't cry when we shared evidence. We just nodded, breathed, grieved in silence. Then we made a plan. We wouldn't tell them. We'd show them. They walked in like they owned the night, laughing, holding hands. He had that smug, relaxed look I hadn't seen in months, the one I used to mistake for happiness. She wore a silk dress, lipstick too red. They looked like a couple on vacation, like they were safe, until they saw us. He froze, like his brain couldn't compute the image. Me, sitting at the table with her husband, calm, poised, as if we belonged there, as if we hadn't both been betrayed by the same people standing in the doorway. Her smile broke first. She let go of his hand, took one step back like the room had tilted. I tilted my wine glass toward them, keeping eye contact. "You're late." He blinked, looked at me, then at her husband, then at her. His lips parted like he wanted to speak, but nothing came out. She whispered, "What is this?" And her husband said, "It's called truth." They didn't sit. They hovered, glued, to the floor, caught in the spotlight of their own choices. I stood up, pushed back my chair slowly. "We figured it was time for everyone to stop pretending." She stepped forward. "We can explain." "Don't," I cut in. "We've seen the photos, the messages, the receipts. We've seen everything." Her husband pulled out a manila envelope, placed it on the table, thick with printed screenshots, flights, hotel bookings, credit card charges, proof. "In case you forgot what betrayal looks like on paper." My husband looked like he might vomit. "You went through my stuff?" I smiled. "No, you left it all wide open. You wanted to be caught. You just didn't want the consequences." She looked at him then. Something shifted, like for the first time, she saw what I'd finally accepted. He wasn't a prize. He was a con. We didn't scream. We didn't beg for answers. We didn't ask why. We just stood there, the two of us, reclaiming our voices in a house built on lies. I walked past them, slow, deliberate, and whispered to him as I passed, "This place was never yours to bring her to." And then we left. I didn't go back to the house after that night, not even once. I left the keys on the entry table, beside the wine glasses they didn't get to use. No notes, no last words, just silence and a door left unlocked. Not out of carelessness, but clarity. I didn't block him. I didn't need to. I knew he'd try to explain. I knew the apologies would come. Desperate, long-winded, performative. And they did. Voicemails, emails, even a handwritten letter that arrived 2 days later. I didn't open it, just stared at the envelope and thought, too late. I moved into a temporary apartment in the city. Bare walls, mismatched furniture, no memories, and it was perfect because I needed nothing familiar. Nothing that reminded me of the woman who once believed loyalty guaranteed safety. My mornings became rituals. Coffee before sunrise, news in the background, silence that didn't ache. I learned how to be alone again. Not lonely, just unoccupied by someone who didn't deserve me. I didn't respond to mutual friends who checked in. I knew what they wanted: gossip, drama, a story, but I wasn't performing heartbreak. I was living through it, quietly, powerfully. He showed up at my office once, waited outside the building, tried to look casual. I walked past him like I didn't know his face better than my own. That moment, that refusal to engage, gave me more closure than any confrontation could. Her husband texted me just once after we left the beach house. Just 3 words. "We did it." I smiled when I read it. Not because we'd won anything, but because we had survived it, together, yet separately. 2 strangers bound by betrayal, now free by choice. I closed our joint accounts, rerouted the mortgage to my lawyer. I didn't ask for revenge. I asked for removal. I didn't want half. I wanted clean. I started therapy again, for me this time. Not for saving a marriage, not for fixing myself, just for holding space where the truth could live without interruption. And in those sessions, I said things I'd never admitted out loud, not even to myself. I kept loving him after I stopped trusting him. I was loyal to an illusion. I miss who I was before him. And week by week, the guilt began to fall away. I stopped asking what I could have done differently, stopped needing to understand, because some things are exactly what they look like, and what he did was unforgivable. So I forgave myself for staying as long as I did, and then I never looked back. Healing came in fragments, like sea glass washed ashore, soft around the edges but still sharp if you held it wrong. I didn't try to rush it. I let the pain take up space, let it move through me, and then, one morning, I woke up and didn't feel the weight of him anymore. I changed my last name back. It wasn't about reclaiming who I was before him. It was about honoring who I'd become without him. I updated every document, every account. Every signature was a tiny declaration. You don't own me anymore. I went back to the beach. Not our house, but a different one. Alone. I stood barefoot in the sand and let the tide soak the hem of my dress. The wind hit my face like a slap and a kiss all at once. I cried, not because I was broken, but because I wasn't. I started writing again, just for me. Stories that weren't about betrayal or revenge, but rebirth. I wrote about women who chose silence over spectacle, women who walked away and never looked back, women like me. Work got better too, lighter. I stopped dragging my heartbreak into every meeting. My ideas flowed again. I got invited to speak on a panel about resilience in business. I almost declined, but then I remembered who I was rebuilding for, myself. The most surprising part? I started laughing again. Real laughter, deep and unself-conscious. At bad sitcoms, stupid memes, my own awkward moments. It felt like my body was learning joy all over again. And then, one evening, I saw my reflection in a shop window of all places. I paused, looked, really looked, and for the first time in years, I didn't see a wife or a victim or a placeholder. I saw a woman who had been shattered and rebuilt with stronger pieces. People asked what happened with the beach house. I told them it wasn't mine anymore, that I let it go. I didn't need a monument to pain. I needed space for peace. Eventually, I started dating again, slowly, carefully, no desperation, no fairy tales, just coffee, eye contact, and honesty. Some nights I came home and cried from exhaustion. Some nights I came home and smiled. Both felt like progress. I learned to say no without guilt, to say yes without fear, to be alone without shame, because the goal was never to replace him. The goal was to find me again. It happened in a grocery store of all places. I was reaching for a jar on the top shelf when I heard his voice. Low, familiar, cautious. Hey, I turned. There he was, standing in front of me like a memory I'd finally stopped missing. He looked older, not tired, just worn. The kind of aging that doesn't come from time, but from consequences. His smile was hesitant, the same one he used when he wasn't sure if he was welcome. I said nothing at first, just looked at him, measured the weight of silence. And for once, he couldn't carry it. You look good, he said, eyes scanning for softness. I didn't give it. I nodded once. I know. He shifted, awkward, fumbled with the basket in his hand. I've been meaning to reach out, but I raised a hand gently, not hostile, just firm. There's nothing left to say. He exhaled, looked down, then back at me. I messed everything up. No, I replied. You revealed everything. He tried again. I've changed. I smiled then, a small, sad thing. I have too. We stood there for a moment, surrounded by cans and fluorescent lights and all the things people use to build normal lives. And then I asked, is she still in your life? He hesitated. No, that ended a long time ago. I just nodded. No satisfaction, no cruelty, just information. He looked at me like he wanted something, forgiveness maybe, a version of me that still needed closure, but I didn't. I picked up the jar, placed it in my cart, looked him in, the eye one last time and said, take care of yourself. Then I walked away, not fast, not emotional, just steady, like someone who knew exactly where she was going. He didn't follow. He never will. People always imagine betrayal like an explosion, loud, chaotic, unforgettable. But for me, it ended in silence, in a quiet house by the beach, in a grocery aisle, in the gentle closing of a chapter I once thought would define my life. I don't talk about him anymore, not because I'm bitter, but because he's not relevant. He's a shadow I outgrew, a lesson I already learned. I talk about peace now, about boundaries, about how choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. I talk about how silence isn't weakness, but strategy, how walking away with dignity is more powerful than any revenge. Some people still ask if I miss him. I don't. I miss the version of me that believed love was enough to make someone honest. But I love the version of me that knows better. The woman I am today doesn't wait for apologies. She doesn't beg to be seen. She doesn't stay where her worth is questioned. She creates her own closure. And if she ever finds herself at a table with betrayal again, she won't just recognize it. She'll already be sitting there, ready.